So you want to become a ghost hunter, right? Awesome. Although you may have already looked at some ghost hunting equipment and you saw how much they cost, and because of that you may have gotten yourself somewhat discouraged. Well, don't you worry, this video should be of some help to at least alleviate your discouragement. Although you may have looked at my channel and you may have noticed that I only have one ghost investigation uploaded, sure, that's true. But I live in Europe and let's be honest, it seems like most ghosts live in the US or the UK, so I don't really have access to most known haunted places. Regardless, I still did my research and I can still recommend some things for people who are fortunate enough to have access to great haunted places. So I can at least help some people hunt some ghosts. Anyways, let's begin. In my opinion, the first thing that you need to have, because let's be honest, we live in 2022 and you know, people want footage, they want evidence, and also it's more fun, a camera or more cameras, but you know, at least you get yourself a camera. Sure, it doesn't have to be my camera, which is a Sony a7S II, and honestly, I only picked it up because it does an amazing job in low light. You can use any phone, and when I mean any phone, it doesn't have to be an iPhone 12, it doesn't have to be an iPhone 10, it can even be an iPhone 6s. And the reason why I'm saying iPhones, and not just because I only used iPhones for the last years, but iPhones tend to do a better job when it comes to recording videos, especially in somewhat of a low light situation, the frame rate being more stable while recording, yada yada. Basically any phone should do. Anything that you have at your disposal that can record video in at least 1080p, that's for the main camera, I guess. Then, to spice some things up, the very next thing that I would recommend, still in the camera category, would be this. This is a GoPro clone. It's basically a cheap action camera, right? You can shoot video with it, but the things about this specific type of cameras, and I wouldn't do this to an actual GoPro just because it's expensive, it may be somewhat of a good risk, but regardless, you can actually take these apart, just take off this front cover, unscrew the lens, and you can do this yourself, by the way, you can remove the infrared filter, meaning you can actually convert this camera into a night vision camera. Amazing. And it's cheap, like this one was like 40 bucks. You can actually buy some of these for even cheaper, although maybe something in the 40 to 50 buck range would be actually more recommended just because they're a bit more expensive, meaning they're probably going to be a bit better at shooting video because you still need to you know, be able to tell what's being recorded. So something in this price range should do you just enough. Although in order to get the best footage out of this possible, you still need lights. And by lights, I mean infrared lights. I actually got all three things. As you can see, it's the light, hot shoe adapter, and this thing off AliExpress. Yeah, I did wait like 2 months for these, but all of these combined were like 10 bucks. So honestly, worth the wait. They're doing an amazing job. You need an infrared light. You can most likely buy some of these on Amazon. I can't really buy a lot of things from Amazon because a lot of things don't ship in my country. But if you're from the US or the UK or even Germany, you're gonna be just fine. They have a lot of things, a lot of alternatives for cheaper, or if you want something a bit more expensive, you can, you know, do that. But basically any infrared light should do, as long as it's near the camera so you can actually, you know, use it properly. Put the camera here and then that's it. You got yourself a night vision camera. What you could also do to basically get yourself an infrared camera would be something a bit more complicated, which is, I'm pretty sure everyone has at least one of these like old cameras in their homes that can at least record video. This one is pretty dog shit, to be honest, when it comes to the recording quality. It's like not even 720p, but still it can still shoot video, which is the most important thing. Although while you can still convert these to infrared, it's a pain in the ass to assemble them back together once you took them apart. Somehow I managed to get this one still working, but since it's so old, I don't even think it uses like a normal SD card, so you gotta keep that in mind. So if you can find something that's already in your home and you don't mind risking destroying it, you can give this a try. It's really simple. You only have to watch like one video and it's probably going to be applied on every single camera like this. Although, you know, putting them back together, that's a different story. So in conclusion, with the camera category, I would suggest you have as many cameras as you can have. Be it static cameras, you know, like vlogging style cameras, so you can basically record yourself while some things are happening or while you're asking questions and interacting with a possible ghost. Just watch a few ghost hunting videos, even like ghost adventures. You can kind of get an inspiration on how to shoot certain videos and how to place cameras and whatnot. So that's actually something more easy than it looks. Anyways, let's go to the next category, which is tripods, because you do need tripods for your cameras. In this case, you can also use your phone with this. This is like a $40 tripod from Newer. You can probably get most of the things that I'm going to show you from Amazon. This is a small tripod. This is a desk tripod. You can use this to keep your camera handheld, and then when you need to put it down, put it down. Although I would only recommend using a desk type of tripod, you know, like a small one in like tight places where a normal size tripod wouldn't fit. It's really up to you what you want to choose. However, I would actually recommend on getting a proper sized tripod, and maybe not the cheapest ones that you can find. Let me show you why. This is basically like a $15 tripod, I suppose. You can see how wobbly it is, like I'm barely moving it. So you have to imagine if your camera is up there, right? And let's say the camera is a bit more expensive, or maybe you're using your expensive phone. You don't really want to risk, you know, smashing your camera just because the tripod can't really hold it. So maybe if you still want to get one of these, or you have one of these laying around, because you know, it's a bit more common to have tripods in your home, especially if now with like TikTok and even how easy it is to make content. I would keep this for like your not shittiest camera, but like the one you least care about, just a static camera mount, and that's it, you know, something in the corner where no wind blows. But now for the main camera, or in general, I would recommend on getting this one. This is a Manfrotto tripod. This is like $60 or something, not that expensive. It still wobbles a bit, but then again, overall this is way better. It also can fold by like 5 places instead of the usual 2, and it has a ball head, meaning you can actually not only hold your camera like this, which is way better than the actual screw kind of thing on the other one, but this is overall just better, and it actually becomes somewhat small if you fold all of these back in. So it's kind of like an extended desk tripod, to be honest. So it goes somewhat low compared to that one, at least, you know, better quality, built way better. I've actually seen this one specifically on Exploring with Josh, and it kinda is the reason why I got this one, and honestly I can't say that I'm regretting it. It's a really good tripod for the price. It does the job really well. However, the last tripod that I want to talk about briefly would be the GorillaPod. You know which one I'm talking about, the one that Casey Neistat used to use a while ago. Just like the bendy one. Sure, it could be great for a while. I have one for like 6 years now. After maybe like a year of like decent usage out of it, some legs would just come off like at random points. I would try to bend it and I would hear like the, and then like the leg would come out. Sure, you could put it back in. In time, it became such a chore to use it because it would slowly fall on a side, and you know, you can't really trust it anymore. So it may be good at first, maybe if you plan on using it with a phone, which, let's be honest, the phone is super light. Honestly, it's up to you. I don't think I can fully recommend it. Maybe with the circumstances of using it with a super light camera, sure, because I'm only using mine with like the GoPro and that's it. Honestly, it's really up to you. The next category is gonna be lights, because let's be honest, you're not gonna go ghost hunting during the day, not for content at least, because you know, it's more spooky at night. So first of all, you need a regular flashlight. This one is super strong. So maybe not necessarily this one, you know, like a tactical flashlight goes for like what, $15? You most likely already have a flashlight in your home. You actually have one in your pocket right now. So still, getting something that actually lets you see basically your entire environment. If you go to like an abandoned place, you know, there may be glass on the floor or some things that you actually don't want to step on. So having a great flashlight is going to be a life changer and a game changer. So that was not the main reason why I created this category. I actually wanted to talk about these. This is basically a poor man's spirit box, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But this is basically a normal flashlight. It's a mag light. For you people from the US, you may be more familiar with mag lights than us Europe folks. But if you don't know what this is basically one of those screwable flashlights. You know, like twist to turn on. And the thing with this is that if you put it on a very specific position where it barely turns on, right? Like you barely get anything. If there's a spirit and you ask something like usually a yes or no question, it could just barely touch it and it turns on, you know? And you can use this to communicate, maybe. So it's really great to have. I honestly picked up 3 of these for like $12, $15 maybe. So I got a great deal. I don't know how much they cost usually, especially in the US. You can probably pick those up pre-owned. I mean, it's a flashlight. It should just light up. So get a few of these. I would recommend on getting at least 2, so you can have one for yes, one for no, but at least having 1 or 2 of these is gonna be great. It's gonna be fun to use, especially if you get some responses on it, and you know, you can start analyzing, see if it's just coincidence or if it's actually something communicating. So these are great to have. Now there's gonna be another set of lights, but I'm gonna talk about those in a bit because they fit in with a different category. So yeah, while still talking about lights, we can use candles. If you're a bit more spiritual, or I don't know, in general, you could use candles for specific questions. Maybe you want to do a circle of candles and see what happens. I don't really know that kind of stuff. I didn't do my research on that part. You know, candles are cheap. Just get a few matches and light them up, and you can use those to ask questions. Although I'd be wary, just in case you're somewhat of a spiritual person. There's a lot of advice out there regarding on make sure not to leave the candles open because something may get attached. I don't know exactly. So do your research if you believe that something may happen with the candles, just in case. Now, the next category, as I said, is the motion detectors, because you want to see if something moves past you or past a specific place. Normal motion detectors are expensive. You can actually find some cheap ones, specifically designed for like hunting, you know, like the big boxy ones. There's an image on screen. Those you can actually find for like 15-20 bucks, I think. Really depends. Actually, some of those come with a night vision camera that records when something triggers the motion detector, which could be used in a video if you want to do content with this, so you may look into those. But I actually have something even cheaper and even more just like, wow, you can actually use these in a ghost investigation type of thing. And I'm talking about my balls, cat balls, right? It's a cat ball. It lights up. The thing is, it lights up when something moves it. So you can leave a few of these randomly placed, although I would recommend on having at least a camera pointed to them, or you can actually see them and ask questions and use these as some sort of a communication method or simply motion sensors. And they're so cheap. You can probably find them at basically any pet store, or you can find them on Amazon. I got these for like $6, super cheap. And if you have cats, you probably already have a set of these. So my balls. Just, yeah, you can't really go wrong with these. The battery lifespan is probably like 5 years. I don't know. And the third option when it comes to motion sensors, this one is more for people who are a bit more tech savvy, I guess. But you can actually make yourself a REM pod. If you know what a REM pod is, there's an image on screen right now. You can basically make yourself one, like DIY it by using Arduino. If you don't know what an Arduino is, it's basically like a tiny computer which you can program to do a lot of things. And if you use like some accessories, you can actually build a motion sensor that also lights up and, you know, it plays a sound. Super cool stuff, and it's super cheap. And talking about Arduino, I actually have the next thing, which is a spirit box. This one is same thing, an Arduino with a antenna. It's just that it's in a 3D printed case with my logo, because, you know, I'm quirky, but it's still the same thing. It has an FM chip on it, and it just sweeps the radio, and that's it. There's a 3.5mm jack port on it, so you can, you know, plug it in like a $5 speaker, and that's it. Like, you can use this super cheap, by the way, as a spirit box, because not everyone can spend like 70-80 bucks on like an SB7 or 100 plus on an S box. So there's definitely alternatives, and you can, by the way, build this yourself. There are a few tutorials on YouTube, so you can actually look it up, and you can probably get it done in under a day, given that you have all of the parts needed, which isn't that many. It's not gonna look great because it's gonna be just like a motherboard and cables, but if you have someone who knows how to 3D print, or you have access to a 3D printing place in your town or your city, in your area, easy. The next one is actually something that I was super skeptical about, as in what I was buying. And I'm talking about the K2 EMF meter. This is a classic. Honestly, you just press one button and EMF, right? If it picks up electromagnetic fields, it's gonna light up. The thing is, I think one of these costs like 50 bucks, I guess, on Amazon and on their website, but I actually didn't have the money to buy one for that much. So I looked it up on Google, just simply K2 EMF meter. And one of the first few results on Google was a website called Joom. Joom, and it's basically like an AliExpress but faster shipping. I honestly thought it was gonna take like 60 days plus to get this, but it took like 20 something, 24, 25 days, I guess. And this was like $11, like 5 times as cheap as a normal one. And guess what? It works. It does the thing, and it's made in USA, K2 Enterprises. It's like the real thing. I don't know how it was sold for so cheap on the website. Hopefully you can still find it if you want to get it. And honestly, I was so skeptical about it. I was 100% convinced that I was gonna get scammed and that whatever was gonna arrive in my mail was just gonna be like a brick that's not gonna work. But I was wrong, and it worked just fine. If I place this near my microwave, it instantly goes to red. It works, and I actually got a few hits when I went to Hoya Bacho. Great tool. Now, the second to last one is gonna be controversial at first, because if you listen to what I'm gonna say, it's gonna make sense. You're probably familiar with the SLS. You know, like the big bulky tablet with like a Kinect. It shows you a stick figure if it detects something, right? Like an anomaly. Well, to build one of those, you do need to have a tablet, you do need to have a Kinect, which it's cheap. Honestly, both of those are cheap. You need to have a battery, you need to know how to solder a bit, you need to buy some extra things. It's probably like a $100 to like a $150 build, which is not cheap, let's be honest. It's not cheap, regardless if you're from the US or from the UK or from Europe, anywhere. It's just not a cheap thing to do. And if you want to buy one pre-built, it's probably gonna be like $200 to $50. Here's the thing, you basically already have one in your pocket. Not to the same extent, but still a usable one. And this is the one of 2 only apps that I can recommend on a phone. I know, I don't believe in apps like ghost hunting apps, especially those that claim that, oh, if you talk while using the app, it's gonna spew out things. And I'm gonna say why. It's bullshit. It's straight up bullshit. Although the 2 apps that I can respect, at least one of the 2 fully, and I'm gonna say why, are GhostTube and GhostTube SLS, and they're actually developed by Amy Script, or at least her husband. If you don't know who Amy is, just look her up. She's also doing ghost hunting videos on YouTube for a while now, and she is great at what she's doing. So her husband, as far as I know, I think he was the only one who worked on it. Whatever, they developed an app, actually 2, called GhostTube. And the main app, GhostTube, basically claims to be somewhat of an EMF detector, and it can translate the electromagnetic fields into words, because it has a dictionary. That part, I don't really buy it. But the EMF part makes sense, because a phone does have a lot of sensors in it. That's basically the microphone, and that's the electromagnetic level, and that's it. There's nothing to lie about. Like, that's basically just the audio waveform and the magnet detector kind of thing, so there's nothing to fake with it. That's why I said that the dictionary may be something a bit more on the content side of things, because it makes for better videos. I agree, sure, but I personally wouldn't use it, especially in a video, because I don't want people to think that I'm faking stuff, because that's not why I'm making videos. But the second app is the one that I wanted to talk about, which is the GhostTube SLS. Same app, kinda. They're 2 different apps, but like same thing. And if I were to do this, you can see that it's basically detecting me as a figure, because I'm a human. This is basically the same thing as an SLS camera that has the name. The thing is, if you do not own an iPhone, or I'm not sure about Samsung phones or Google Pixels, but basically having a LiDAR camera, which is basically a camera that's dedicated to measuring the distance and objects in like 3D space, you may be getting more false positives. So in this case, if I point it to the tripod or to the tree, you can see that it's picking up something. But then again, it's just picking up patterns. It's not like it's gonna add like a PNG of a ghost or something. That's why I can actually trust this app, because there's nothing to fake with it. It's simply up to you if you feel like you've seen something, and maybe the app can confirm it. And while using LiDAR, you can actually see how it's working. Like, it's super bright, I know, but it's using infrared to scan things. So once again, there's nothing to fake with this. Really, there's nothing to fake with this. Although what you need to know is that the apps, while they are free, you can only record for like a minute or like 30 seconds with the SLS. Although I'm not sure if you can record 30 seconds at a time and like record 50 million videos, or you can only record a few videos with, like, you know what I mean. Although the actual subscription for the app is super cheap. I think it's like $10 per year per application. So in this case, if you want to get both apps, you know, and get a subscription so you can fully use them them in a recording, in a video, like 20 bucks per year is super cheap, let's be honest. And I would say that the SLS is somewhat of a must-have. In this case, if you have multiple iPhones, for example, you can use all of them as static cameras, all of them running the SLS, meaning you get more angles and you basically have 3 SLS cameras or whatever, how many phones you have. It doesn't have to be iPhones, but I'm just saying because I only see iPhones here. So in conclusion, most apps are dog shit, but these two are 98% go-to. I would still recommend on getting both just because why not? They're extra tools and they could make a difference in your investigation. So why not have them? And now for the very last thing that you need, kinda, would be a positive attitude and an open-mindedness. Meaning you have to go in there as somewhat of a skeptic and then try to analyze everything as objective as you can be and try to argue why it can't be a ghost at first and then see what you're left with. Because if I hear a scream, I'm gonna think, oh, maybe it's a cat, maybe there's someone across the street, you know? Try to rule out everything obvious at first until you're left with the, okay, how do I explain this? That's the best thing that you can do, regardless if you're a believer, regardless if you're a skeptic. You basically have to be a skeptic at first in order to be able to become a believer or to, you know, get proof. And also, I don't think I need to say this, but try to be respectful regardless if you're a believer or not, because just imagine, right? Let's say you passed away and you're stuck in your house for thousands of years, and then someone comes in knowingly that there may be a ghost, aka you, and you know, they try to anger you. How would you feel? You'd be angered, right? So don't be a dick. Try to be as respectful as possible, unless you're dealing with like some, you know, like racist people and like white supremacist kind of things, or just like bad people, then, you know, fuck them. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this short, I guess, ish guide. I really want to go out and do this again. COVID is really not helping, but even so, probably the next few episodes are gonna be from the UK, hopefully, because I do have some places planned to go to, and honestly, I just want to shoot as much as I can and make as much content as I can, because this is one of my passions, and boy, do I miss doing it. And I've only done it once. It's like a drug. I just want to keep on doing this. But yeah, it was your boy Khaos. If you managed to learn something from this, then awesome, amazing. Hopefully you actually did learn something and you can actually apply it and go out and hunt some ghosts and make videos and, you know, let's prove some skeptics wrong. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I don't know when that's gonna be, but hopefully soon. Yeah, peace.